I'm Ed Martin, the president of the Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. You know, Hulu is streaming this series, Mrs. America, about my old boss, my mentor, Phyllis Schlafly. But you got to find out what the real truth is. Go to realmrsamerica.com and pass on this video and others. Subscribe down here. Please get the truth and get it out. We're doing these fact checks, and today we're going to do a fact check on CBS interviewing the cast of Mrs. America to tell us what the real bias is, both in the coverage by CBS and also in Mrs. America's cast. Let's take a look. You know, this recent interview by CBS, it appears to be maybe a month or two ago. They're all together and not social distancing, but it was on CBS. And not only did CBS give them biased coverage, there was no questions by the family of the Schlaflys. No one asked us what we thought. It was just one side. But they allowed, CBS did, Mrs. America's cast to show their bias in what they were doing with this series. Watch what Rose Byrne, the famous actress who played Gloria Steinem in the series, watch what she says about Phyllis Schlafly in this video.
Both Steinem and Schlafly grew up in the Midwest, and Byrne says they had more in common than Schlafly would admit.
She would travel all over the country, leaving her family with help, leaving her children, fighting for this thing. That's the dirty secret about Phyllis Schlafly, is that she's the biggest feminist of all of them, really.
Rose Byrne is trotting out the favorite attack line of the feminists, and that is a personal attack on Phyllis Schlafly. Phyllis wasn't against wives and mothers doing anything. In fact, she said that they could be whatever they wanted, whether it was stay at home and raise kids, go be lawyers, write books like Phyllis did. In fact, Phyllis never told all women to do anything. Phyllis believed that Americans and American women had real choice, and it was the feminists that were trying to take away the choice from so many Americans and so many women who wanted to be stay-at-home wives and mothers. Let's see how the bias doesn't stop there.
Elizabeth Banks is the lesser-known but powerful Republican feminist Jo Ruckelshaus.
The movement was bipartisan back then, and equal rights and human rights should be bipartisan. Of course, that's the goal of it.
Human rights are supposed to be bipartisan? Who's against human rights? Phyllis Schlafly certainly wasn't against human rights. In fact, she spent a lot of her life working for the right to life, among others. And if that isn't biased enough, look closer at the image of Elizabeth Banks, the actress in that scene. Am I the only one that noticed that she's wearing an ERA Now button on her shirt? CBS is interviewing her and doesn't even decide to make anything about that right there, a political statement in the middle of what's supposed to be a review of this series. Let's see what else Rose Byrne has to say.
Rose Byrne says Steinem herself seemed determined to avoid these spectacles.
And that was smart, you know. She didn't want to give her any more airtime than she was already having.
Rose Byrne is right. Gloria Steinem was smart to refuse to debate Phyllis Schlafly. You know, Gloria knew she couldn't win. In fact, they sort of make that depiction clear in the series because Gloria Steinem's kind of not sure why Betty Friedan even takes that fight. Phyllis Schlafly and Gloria Steinem never debated in that over 10-year period. In the Phyllis Schlafly archives, we have documents that show that Gloria scheduled a media appearance to conflict with a debate she was supposed to have with Phyllis Schlafly. Phyllis actually said she won't really make this appointment, she won't really do this debate in the writings. And of course it turned out true. Gloria Steinem pulled out and didn't show up for the debate. She was scared. Mrs. America's cast, they weren't the only ones in the interview. CBS went out and got some extra interview people to talk about this situation. Watch this.
When women's marches and Me Too seem to breathe new life into it.
America wants this. Over 90% of everyone says women should have constitutional equality.
ERA died decades ago. No one disputes that. We have Ruth Bader Ginsburg saying that last month. We have Gloria Steinem saying that about 5 years after the ERA died. That's the fact. And yet Carol Jenkins and other lobbyists, who get paid to do this work, by the way, are out there saying ERA can live on? Boy, it's even stranger. Carol Jenkins has on the board of her organization, guess who? Gloria Steinem, who said ERA is dead. Carol Jenkins says 90% of people in America support constitutional equality for women. Phony poll. Women already have constitutional equality. That's the kind of question asked by pollsters who want to get paid by Carol Jenkins to get a number that they like. There's nothing in the Constitution that applies to men and not women. And the idea of that poll is just silly. Now, CBS gave time to all these pro-ERA supporters, but didn't invite anyone who opposed it? Just like in the 1970s and throughout the fight in ERA, the media is biased against conservatives. It was back then, and it is today. The cast of Mrs. America can't say, based on true events, with such personal bias against the truth. They keep trying to tell us, I've heard Cate Blanchett say, look at how unbiased we are. No, look at how biased the portrayal is, and look underneath the hood in this 60 Minutes interview, this CBS interview, and you can see that. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to tell you the truth about Phyllis Schlafly. We're going to continue to fact check the series, and we ask you to please visit realmrsamerica.com to follow that. There's great content there, and please be sure to like and share and subscribe down there for this and other videos. We'll be back again. It's Ed Martin, Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. Thanks for listening to this and watching this. We'll talk to you soon.